Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. I just want to tell you that if you're watching, there's a 99% chance you're a good dad. Most of my followers are good dads. Even the people I have a beef with as far as how to fight in court and how the father's rights movement is soft and nobody's doing anything about anything except talking like they've been talking for 60 years. I assume that every dad is a good dad that doesn't abuse their kids. You know, there's it's like there's a couple million people in jail and in prison, and a bunch of them are in there for nonviolent crimes. So it's a small percentage of the population that's dangerous to children. Now, 60% of the dangerous folks are mothers because they commit 60% of child abuse. There's statistics that show they commit 50% of domestic violence, but that's only the reported stuff. And I know for a fact, 90% of the time, dads and men are not reporting their baby's mom, their girlfriend, their wife committing domestic violence. They just don't. I've seen 25,000 cases where dads actually get arrested when the woman's assaulting them because they'll turn around and lie about the dad. So the reports about the dads are lies. So the actual arrests are probably way off. If the official data says women commit 50% of domestic violence, I mean, we know, I have a packet in my online store, Defense Against Protection Order packet, and I quote a whole bunch of attorneys, judges, Harvard law professors, investigative reporters, documentaries that say over and over that women lie about protection orders all the time. If they lie about protection orders and you can get in trouble for violating it, why wouldn't they lie about criminal cases also? The whole domestic violence industry is a sham because, first and foremost, domestic violence is a crime. Child abuse is a crime. But you can be found to be an abuser in civil court after a 5-minute hearing where you don't have an attorney, you don't have a full hearing with plenty of time to prepare. You don't have the due process of a fair jury, a fair trial by a jury of your peers. There's all kinds of non-due process stuff, and they'll say, well, it's civil. Well, you get a civil restraining order, but what if you violate that? Then you go to jail and you have a crime automatically. And what crime did you commit? You violated a protection order that's put in place based upon some boo-hoo tears, some crocodile tears by a mom who put on a good show in court. And then a radical feminist judge believed whatever she said on its face without any evidence except her own testimony. A lot of you guys out there say, oh, she had absolutely no evidence. No, her testimony is evidence. You can't go in there and say she has no evidence because you lose. If you say that and say your winning point is she has no evidence because her own testimony is evidence. There's people who are in prison right now because a witness saw them commit a murder. Under your logic, you would say, oh, there's no evidence, just that witness testimony. Witness testimony is evidence. So, that being said, back to my main point. It's a rare amount of people who just go around violently abusing people in society. A lot of those people are in prison. Some of them are still getting away with it. Green River Killer up here in the Seattle area got away with murders for like 30 years, 35 years. Ted Bundy up here got away with murders for several years. But, eventually a lot of those folks get caught that keep doing it over and over. We just had a woman, 29-year-old mom, murder her 14-year-old son, 13 or 14-year-old. So she had him when she was 16, and the stepdad watched. She beat him to death with some electric cord and was punching him and hitting him, and he collapsed, and she said, oh, I thought he was just BSing. And then, after she got arrested for murdering him, she asked to be released so that she could go and grieve her son's death. Think about the delusion of a woman who does that. Oh, I was beating him. I didn't know. Oh, he died? I didn't mean to do it. So I should be able to let go. And I feel bad that my son died. Delusion. That's where men and women are different. We're held accountable. we deal with accountability. There's a lady who said she helped people, counsel people. She was a renowned worldwide therapist, says she helps counsel couples in verbally abusive relationships. She said over decades of doing that, about 6 women scheduled appointments with her and 5 were no-shows. There's one woman who actually wanted to at least try therapy. The women are unaccountable. She said 50% of the men who sought therapy improved and got better. So we're exponentially way more accountable than women. But that being said, I just wanted to come on here and acknowledge you guys are good dads. You know, I beat up on dads a lot for being scared to go to court and playing Mr. Nice Guy and following the Father's Rights Movement MO and Mark Ludwig's MO, all these soft betas up here talking about how we're just going to wait for reform and we're just going to talk and talk and talk. I know we've been talking for 60 years. And then I got people who hate on me and say, I actually just had a guy, I think I put it in my new TikTok here. My last TikTok, this guy's like, yeah, we get it, James. You just hate on everybody doing something for the movement. What have you done? Blah, blah, blah. You know, I can't remember what else he said. What have I done? I've helped thousands of guys get their kids back. The Father's Rights Movement is hoping in the future, in another 50 years, that we'll eventually get 50-50 laws in every state. And the 50-50 laws don't even work. If women get custody usually by lying about the dad being abusive, a danger, and a monster, and domestic violence perpetrator, and then you pass a law that says we should assume 50-50, rebuttal presumption of 50-50, that really sounds really smart, and it sounds really fair. So we think that if we get those laws, it'll sound really good. But the problem is judges do whatever they want, despite the evidence, despite the law, despite who's obviously lying, despite who's the better parent, despite the mother going through 2 hospital, you know, inpatient treatments for being suicidal, being on drugs, slapping the kids around, committing domestic violence, and the dad is squeaky clean. They give her another chance because of the bias of the court. Despite the law says in those situations, in a lot of states, you have to give custody to the other kid. Like in Washington, RCW 26.09191 A or B. If the mother's violent or the mother lives with somebody who's violent, you have to put restrictions on her. The exception is a rare situation. Now, I've seen cases where a mother lived with a felon. He's not supposed to be around a gun, and he's posting weapons on Instagram, and they're going to a gun range together, and there's empty shells around the house, and the mother and him smoke weed around the child, who's a developing child. Now, I've never smoked weed. Never will, probably. I know they've demonized it and stuff, but in this situation, a violent felon who's smoking weed around the kid, you know, it's bad for a developing kid to get secondhand weed smoke. And I think there's some stuff in the backlash against the vilifying of weed. Now there's a backlash so that everybody thinks it's perfectly fine. Like, I don't see how you smoke anything or inhale anything in your lungs besides oxygen that's good for your lungs. But, you know, what do I know? But anyway, it's the judge's abuse of discretion. And so we go in there and we play all soft and we don't fight the right way, and the mothers go in and they totally destroy us and they get on the offensive, and we play this softball game that the Father's Rights Movement tells us to play because we don't want to be the bad guy. We want to win Boy Scout points. And we want to say at least we asked for 50-50 when we get crushed and we're on supervised visitation. Well, at least I only asked for 50-50. I didn't go for full custody. If you got full custody, you can let her see the kid as much as you want. When there's a war, when we went into Nazi Germany, we went in and killed people. But that was so later on, the peaceful countries are in control. When you stand up to the bully, you got to have some violence, but then there's peace afterward. When you go up and stand up to the bully in family court, there's peace afterward. So all these pacifist, soft, sissy, feminine, PUSSY guys in the Father's Rights Movement are saying all this stupid stuff that's never worked for anybody, and they're waiting and holding their breath for the laws to change. That's the issues that I got. But even those guys in those movements that are full of crap about how to fight in court, they're good fathers to their kids, and the kids need them. So I just wanted to acknowledge that because I don't really say that much. But a lot, even though all of you might be good dads, a lot of you have a problem because you're soft or you're scared or you don't listen to what I say because you're scared to take a leap out there, and you get royally screwed because you didn't do what I said. There's a lot of people after trial, royally screwed, didn't work. I should have listened to you, James.